podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
There's no question about that.
Well, it's the morning after the night before, and having recorded joyous podcast after joyous podcast since lockdown ended, well, I don't know. It hurt a lot. Southampton's equaliser, but I think we're going to find some kind of pretty glorious stuff to talk about in among the pain of all last night. But of course, we've got to start with, I suppose, the hammer blow. I mean, we literally, every United fan walking the earth knew that was coming, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Have you ever seen the Russian professional slapping? It's absolutely amazing. So you can find it on YouTube. So two guys stand there, a little table between them, crowd watching, and they take turns to slap each other in the face. It can't be a closed fist. It has to be an open palm, and they go slap. Anyway, you can see them. You can see it in their eyes. They know the pain is coming because there's a big wind up. Some big Russian dude's winding it up. He's going to slap as hard as he can. Anyway, that's what it was last night. It was coming. We knew it was coming. That goal was coming. For the last 15 minutes of that game, you're just like, it's coming. And the thing that made it, not some 10-stone dude slapping you, but some 25-stone dude slapping you, was that it came in the 95th minute.
Yeah, because we knew it was coming, and it hadn't come yet. I mean, I have to say that the one sort of hope that I retained throughout that period was that we would score, and it would be 3-1, and that would end the game. But it seemed very unlikely that it would be the final whistle that would save us. But we got to the point where it now seemed likely that the final whistle would save us before it didn't.
Yeah. Well, in the last 15 minutes, it didn't look like we would score. I mean, we were under so much pressure from Southampton and not even creating anything on the break, to be honest, in that last 15. It was desperate. Anyway, a lot happened before the last 15, of course. But
when was that Martial chance when he skinned like the most extraordinary control and broke through? Was that not late on? Maybe it wasn't
there
that
was
late.
Second half, yeah. I can't remember the exact minute, but yes, it was second half.
And even though maybe we didn't create anything, I kind of thought that we might at any moment, that was possible. So let's go all the way back to the beginning of the game and a real horror show of a start. I mean, I don't even know if we really gave it the build-up it needed, but Southampton's pressing game has obviously been excellent. I mean, one of the things I would say is that they didn't really do that against City when they played City. They more like defended deep and blocked, but here they went back to their plan A, which against big teams, which is to get right in their face, not allow them any time on the ball. And early on, you said they were targeting Matic and Shaw, but nope, they were targeting everyone because possibly the most press-resistant midfielder in the league got the ball just easily walked off his toes.
That's right.
Twice, but once to disastrous consequence.
80th minute, by the way, Martial's jinking run, so was deep into, but I think that was the exception, not the norm during that period.
Oh, yeah,
anyway, you're completely right. I mean, Pogba is normally fantastic in close quarters, and you can normally trust him to do the right thing, even when pressed, and it's Matic that really struggles under the press. I mean, in fact, Matic did. He gave away the ball more often than normal, and only his 85% pass completion rate is still pretty good, isn't it? But only 19 of those 19 passes forward, Matic. So he was under pressure going backwards an awful lot, and Southampton players were running past him. And then Pogba, yes, two, one fatally disastrous and one almost caught in possession, which is just unheard of for Pogba. So maybe just wasn't on it. I thought Bruno looked extremely leggy throughout, and no surprise, really. I know they've been pulling him off in the 60th minute in some games, but not all. And he's just had a lot of football, as all of these players have. The fifth match in a row that Pogba picked the same starting 11. And
Ole.
But
Pogba's
Ole,
not picking the starting 11
well,
quite
yet. Fifth time in a row starting 11. And not to be hypercritical, because I don't want it to sound like that, but we have talked in the past about Ole's lack of rotation and its potential for causing injury. And, it was very evident last season. And I just wonder whether it was one game too many. And I understand the thinking. It's the team's playing well, the team's winning. It's a tough game against Southampton. We know what they're going to play like, at least in theory. And let's give them one more because maybe Palace with nothing to play for on Thursday is easier. The problem is now that Palace game is absolute must win, and he won't be able to rotate in the way that he might have wanted to.
Yeah, I wonder about. I mean, I just straight up wouldn't have wanted to see Matic starting in this game anyway, because he has actually already looked a little leggy and is vulnerable to the press. So that's a really bad combination. And I did think that McTominay might well come in. But yeah, the lack of rotation is pretty extreme. I agree with you. I don't think it's a cause for being particularly hypercritical in these circumstances, because in some ways games have had like lower energy periods than they normally would. There are the 2 drinks breaks in the half, and so the load is not quite what it normally would be. But of course, and there's been a lot of subs made, so that load has been sort of spread a little bit within games. But I thought they looked very leggy. I mean, I don't know if Bruno looked leggy necessarily. He looked terrible. Like, he had an absolute terrible game. And I thought, even though Pogba made a more egregious error, I thought it was, unless this was about sports science and load and red zone and all these things, I thought bringing Pogba off the pitch, a good few minutes before we brought Bruno off was probably the wrong way round, because it felt to me like Pogba was the more likely to make something happen. So we concede the goal, and then just looked like, oh, you've scored, and that's really annoyed us. And there was a period of, I'm going to use the word again, Ed, absolutely scintillating attacking play from United. The first goal, the build up to that first goal was pure like 2020, summer 2020 Ole ball. Like, we had Wan-Bissaka doing bits to kind of keep the ball and use it so well. He found Bruno in like, Bruno was almost in a little tiny bit of space and could have, I was talking to Greg Johnson from Football London, and he was saying like how many players in that spot would have just head down, whipped the ball in, but Bruno got his head up straight away and found Pogba in a better position. It's a beautiful ball in from Pogba to Martial, and Martial's hold up play for this is elite number 9 centre forward play in this moment. Absolutely brilliant in the centre of the box, finds Rashford in space, and it's a brilliant finish. I mean, it was a fantastic goal.
It was, yeah. I mean, United really needed to wake up. I don't know whether it was anger or Pogba has done it again. Ole got the message out to the players on the pitch, but that first 20 minutes, 15 minutes, when we couldn't keep the ball and couldn't work it through the press and kept making the same mistakes again and again into central, moving the ball into central midfield where the press happened. It was just shocking, honestly. And the players on the pitch couldn't work it out. And Ole either couldn't work it out, didn't do anything. I'm not one for saying managers should be dancing down to the touchline and shouting a lot and that obvious displays of coaching, but in that kind of scenario, when the game could have gone away from United very quickly, Ole just sat there looking confused. I mean, I have to say, I was like, what? Is something going to happen here? Anyway, the creative spark was scoring a goal, or the spark was scoring a goal. And it was, as you say, brilliantly worked. Wan-Bissaka and Fernandes getting it to Pogba. Gary Neville in comms. It was Gary Neville doing the co-comms? Yeah, he called it a hopeful ball.
Was.
Hopeful ball. I thought it was pinpoint to Martial, exactly the right ball, and Martial was brilliant with his back to goal.
He was disgusting again, Gary Neville. The camera was on Pogba early in the game, and the commentator was talking about what excellent form that Pogba had been in, and you would expect the commentator was doing the thing where he didn't ask Gary Neville a question, but he was leaving space for Neville to interject, and the silence was icy. There was in my opinion, there was an icy silence as Gary Neville refused to take the opportunity. I don't think it was a hopeful ball from Pogba at all. I think it was, maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but it looked to me like he was passing it to Martial's, to the one bit of space that Martial had to work the ball. I mean, if he meant to put it where he did, he couldn't have put it in a better place. So, anyway.
Anyway, great number 9 play from Martial, who's been doing that since we came back from lockdown, perfectly. It's exactly the kind of player we hoped he would become, scoring goals and making goals. And he made one for Rashford, who finished well, low with his left foot into the corner. And very, very good. United back in it, because it was not looking like either United were going to score a goal or not concede a second. I mean, look, we talk about XG on this show a fair bit, and it doesn't always tell a very good story. And in Southampton's case, it doesn't tell a good story, because their excellence in pressing and in gaining a lot of possession at Old Trafford and pushing forward late in the game is not where all the numbers lie. They scored 2 very high XG chances. I mean, the second one's like 0.96. It's basically on the line. You couldn't miss it unless you're Marcus Rashford. We'll come to that one.
I'm not having that. I had a massive row. I nearly fell out with a friend of mine yesterday because I was so annoyed with with someone being very critical of Marcus Rashford's, because that goal. Anyway, let's go.
Anyway, so. So my point being that doesn't really tell the story of where Southampton were good and where United were good, because it was 2 very different performances from the teams. They just didn't create much, but United were just so won in the game, and they really needed that goal in the 20th minute to drag themselves back into the game, and they started moving the ball quicker during this period, sort of middle of the second half onwards, which was exactly what they needed to do in order to beat Southampton's press. It's not like a team that presses is impossible to play against. And in fact, once you get past that first line with Southampton, they're actually really vulnerable. And we just needed to play it around them, not through them, where Matic and Pogba were in a lot of trouble and outmanned often.
I think it was between the 2 goals when there was a moment where we had the ball in central defence. I think Lindelof had the ball and Pogba didn't show for a pass. And that's not a criticism. He did absolutely the right thing to not show for a pass, because he was trying to basically say to Lindelof, don't try and pass it here. This is he had clearly twigged by that point. This is not working. We're gonna have to do something different. And Lindelof played a kind of diagonal out to Luke Shaw, and something started. But it was moments later that I might have the chronology slightly wrong on that one. But it was moments later Martial scored a absolute blinder of a goal. I mean, it was just phenomenal, wasn't it? It was very similar to the one when he scored the second of 3 in some game recently, the top corner one, just in terms of he got the ball, he started moving with it, and everyone in the world suddenly thought, oh, is something about to happen here, and it really was. And he felt that one, because he'd missed the chance. We didn't even talk about this. There was that counter-attacking chance early where he was one-on-one with the keeper, and the keeper got a hand to it, and you kind of really thought that the form Martial's in, that was before the goal, he would have scored that. But
keeper's hand was out already on that one. He was through, and Martial placed it in the only position the keeper's hand was actually there, static. Give a keeper a lot of credit for making himself big, as Peter Schmeichel always used to do. He was great in those situations, so yes, we'll do that. But he literally didn't have to move his hand. Anyway, Martial's goal, awesome. That's the best of Martial. That's what we want. I mean, link-up play, great, we talked about, but it's where he gets the ball in front of him and he's running at defenders. He's terrifying, because he can score off either foot. And it's a surprise now that he doesn't. The 80th minute one where he jinked through everyone we talked about earlier, just magical. And I think I think the defender got across, and that's why it's looped over. But that would have been some goal, wouldn't it? And then he's got this in his locker. He should be scoring 25 to 30 goals every single season from now on, because he can certainly do it.
I think he is going to score. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I don't see any reason. I mean, apart from injury, that's the only thing that's going to stop him, or this team being broken up into component parts because we don't make the Champions League. At this point, I thought we were going to win the game. I thought we'd go on and get another one, and we definitely did. We did have chances. Again, the story isn't in the numbers. I mean, United looked very threatening a number of times, and it just didn't quite come off. The big one is that Rashford chance. I mean, he did absolutely. I thought Rashford had an excellent game in this game.
Yeah,
I think
he was.
I think he's
best since we've come back. Yeah, for sure.
And I think he's getting back right up there, and I think he's going to be a massive threat for the run-in now. I mean, we've been in the run-in for a while, but I mean, the run-in and FA Cup and Europa League and all that, I think Rashford's going to have a big say in all that. But he skinned the guy. Absolutely skinned him in the build up to that. Then the 1-2, perfect, and brilliant defending from South. It's brilliant defending. I don't think Rashford did anything wrong at all. I don't know what he could. I mean, maybe he could have Fernandes style stood on the ball and try and win a penalty.
Yeah. Well, I think So I actually think they didn't show it very often, but in the super slow and Enya Aloku on comms called it out. Punditry called it out and said she thought it was blocked. I think he comes off the keeper's foot. He's gone with his right foot. The defender's coming across to tackle him. I think it's just clipped the keeper's foot, and United didn't get the corner. Although it's very hard.
We did. We got the corner. It was a corner.
We got the
that,
corner. Okay.
Yeah.
He could have got.
Anyway.
You know what he could have done? Could have gone with his left foot, and he's gone with the right, and he could have gone with the left, and he'd have had a better chance of scoring. That's the only thing he could have done differently there. Still, it's a big chance. It all
happens at pace, and I think it was a big chance, but I definitely don't think Rashford blew that chance. And also, it's very easy to be critical for the bit they get wrong when that chance only happened because Marcus Rashford is absolutely brilliant. He then megged someone with a through ball to Luke Shaw about 2 minutes later. He was clearly feeling it, and then I mean. I don't know. Tom, we were talking to Tom in the WhatsApp, and Tom said, this game kind of shows that there's still a long way to go, and it really does expose Solskjaer's limitations. And I think maybe there's some, or I don't even know if, I think he said limitations or weaknesses or whatever. I think there is some truth to that. But of course, I think it's really important to say this game also showcased what he's getting right, because there was a lot of absolutely fantastic creative attacking play in this game, and I think you kind of expect between Bruno and Pogba that they're going to play better than that most of the time, but he didn't seem to react to the fact that the pattern of play in this game clearly favoured Southampton. I think he maybe over-relied on a bit of individual brilliance, and I mean, I didn't hate the sub when Fred came on. I did think it was a mistake maybe to take Pogba off. I don't know. I don't feel strongly about that or anything. And then you said it was kind of quite defensive-minded substitutions that came next. And I don't know, maybe we kind of needed to shore up a little bit at that point. And if Williams hadn't got the knock on the head and had to go off, and we played the end of the game with 10 men, a few people confused about the substitution situations there because you're supposed to have 5 subs, but the 5 subs have to come on. You can only do that. You can only do it in batches of 3, so you can only have 3 instances of substitutions. Not actually, you can have 4 if you include half time, but you can only bring them on during the game in 3 batches so that you don't use it to break up the play artificially. So that's why they couldn't bring the 5th sub on. But yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that Hasenhüttl got the kind of managerial victory. The one thing I would say is Hasenhüttl's clearly doing a pretty amazing job at Southampton, because if I was them, I would have crumbled in fear at what United were doing to them when they were putting the foot on the accelerator, but they didn't at all. So well, yeah, to come to your original point, I think what Ole got wrong was he didn't change 2 parts to it. One, in the early part of the game, he didn't quickly enough. I don't know whether I hadn't done the analysis. It's not bloody hard. You know how Southampton's going to play. Or he didn't get the instructions across quickly enough. But United didn't deal with Southampton very well in that first 15 minutes. And then I think in the last 15 minutes, maybe even 20, he wasn't able to, or the team wasn't able to affect the play. So Southampton were controlling the narrative and the style of game.
and his substitutions played into that and didn't change it. So going with McTominay and Fred just pushed United back 15 yards. I think they weren't pushing forward as much as they once were. There just weren't the players there to do it, and it invited Southampton to create a lot of pressure. Whereas if we were, and I guess the idea of bringing Dan James on for Mason Greenwood, who didn't really have a very effective game, was to try and stretch play. But United weren't able to get the ball out of those deep areas at all. So I think that's where Ole kind of didn't mix it up quick enough. And we talked quite a bit on the last show about what is the identity of United, and it is to be a sort of a creative attacking side. I don't think that identity is as strong as, say, Southampton's. You know what they are, right? They are a high-pressing, counter-attacking side. They struggle generally when they've got the ball, right? They prefer not to have the ball. In this game, they had 52% possession, which is more than they would probably like to have. So you know what they are and what they look like. United, in this one, struggled to impose their style of play on Southampton. I think the chances and the stats don't really tell the story, which is Southampton deserved their draw because they were able to control the narrative of the game, except for brilliant moments from United.
Yeah, I think that's a fair analysis. So I wanted to just talk emotionally for a minute because I was reflecting.
I don't like that kind of thing. I'm English. We're repressed.
I was reflecting on this afterwards, and just the experience of the sucker punch at the end of the game, and just I saw a lot of anger, and a few people sent me some angry messages. Not they weren't angry with me; they were angry that United had blown it or whatever, and it felt very alien to me because this is like very basic opinion, but football went away for months on end, and we've all been in this crazy artificial situation, and lockdowns eased a lot in the UK, but we all had months where we were quarantined in our homes, and we were watching old football matches to kind of try and provide some people some entertainment. And honestly, the fact that United have come back after that and have been a joy to watch, even in this game. This game, there was a beautiful shot from Pogba. There was the one we didn't even talk about where Pogba, he had his worst half of football since lockdown, and during that half provided the kind of ball into Martial that led to the goal. Had the decent long shot saved, and did that flick to set the ball to Martial in space. Didn't
even talk about his pass to Bruno after about 2 minutes into the channel. One of his specialities. Yeah, go on. Anyway.
Yeah, right. And that I remember thinking that would have set the whole ground on its feet. That would have been one of those. And obviously he made the mistake for the goal as well. I'm not saying he was good. He didn't cause a problem, but it was just an absolute joy to watch. And I'm with you, and I really, really gutted. Not because we didn't win that game, but because you and I think are in a. No United fan wants us to be in the Europa League next season. I think those of us that cover the club and talk about it, there's a kind of genuinely one of the main reasons I don't want us to be in the Europa League next season is it's logistically awkward.
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, I said this on Twitter, and a few people came back to me saying, no, actually, I enjoy the Euro aways in the Europa because it's better than an identikit night in the Champions League, which I totally 100% get, but that is the only reason to be in the Europa. The club's standing, the club's finances, the fact that it can move forward, the fact that they can afford to buy the kind of players we want, challenge for titles, progress, our enjoyment of the football on the pitch, the fact that we're going to get a new manager if it doesn't work out for Ole next season, I imagine. All of this, all of it, all of our hopes and dreams are tied with United being in the Champions League. I'm not kidding. I mean,
I
know,
it's just funny.
I know I talk about this a bit, but United are guiding, they're sort of talking about £100 to £120 million loss from COVID. That's broadcasting rebate, sponsorship rebates, no fans in the stadium, assuming we have no fans in the stadium till about December, it seems like. I assume there's going to be a partial broadcasting rebate next season as well. So that's a big financial hit, and even United are in a better position than most to absorb that. Not being in the Champions League is, 80 million or so loss. If you assume that Champions League quarterfinal place, sponsorship, gates, TV money, all of that is about £80 million or so, even more if United went further. Plus the new, and you can't even quantify this, but there'll be a negotiation on the new principal shirt sponsor, which will be significantly less if United aren't in the Champions League. All of that, bundled together, it might be a £200 million hit if United end up fifth.
Yeah,
with
and
COVID.
I think that's
no
why that goal
Sancho.
hurt.
That's potentially selling players. That's giving Juan Mata a 6-year contract. That's bringing Marcus Rojo back. It's all of that.
That 95th minute goal had a lot weighing on it. So yeah, I really do get all of that. But even if all that happens, even if we're absolutely rubbish playing turgid football and all that kind of stuff, it'll be trying to drag some enjoyment out of it. That's going to be what I'm going to be trying to do. But, I was going to say, actually, when you mentioned Europa League, when I said no United fan, I mean no United fan apart from people that go to aways and get to spend 4 days on a train going to Astana and, all of that. There's kind of some interest and excitement for the people going to new places and doing new stuff, but that is a tiny minority of United fans, of course, given all the barriers to entry to doing that kind of thing. So yeah, it was really gutting, and I almost at the end of the game I had to kind of mentally carve out the two things and separate them out and talk about the impact of the fact that, this game didn't go like we wanted it to, but also just, it's not like suddenly all the good work's been undone.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
And we'll have a little break and then we'll talk about Palace. And this is a massive, massive game, and not one, I have to say, that I think we can afford to take lightly. And I think lots of people, we're in an unbelievably fortunate position that it's still in our hands, but I mean, we haven't even mentioned this. Nobody listening to this needs us to tell them because everybody knew this was the case, I'm sure, that's choosing to listen to this. But because Chelsea and Leicester had both lost, we literally would have just walked into third place if we hadn't. And I think that was one of the reasons why so many of us were expecting this not to go well. When we started the game really terribly and they scored, that was like confirmation, oh, yep, here it goes. But actually it wasn't that. It wasn't that story of us just completely blowing it and, bricking it, because it did get back into it and did perform to the best of themselves for a period of time in that game and show their skills and talents and express themselves when it really counted. It's just they weren't able to do that for long enough. And also, Southampton were very good at their jobs. Southampton did a really good job. They're clearly a very well-coached team. And mentally, I was very impressed with them not doing the thing that, every team that we've done this to so far has capitulated once we really put our foot on the gas. And they really didn't. So, that's...
Sure. Yeah. And all of that is fair. It's just the impact of moving from third to fifth with a 95th minute goal.
It's awful.
Is pretty awful. And it's going to have some knock-on effects, which are going to be hard to manage. Anyway, let's take a break and we'll come and talk about trying to manage that in the game against Palace on Thursday.
If you want more from the show in between shows, check us out on the socials. We are NQAT Pod on Instagram, Ed's at NQAT Pod on Twitter, and we are under our real names on Facebook at No Question About That. So before we get to the Palace game, The Athletic ran a story, a news organisation ran a story saying...
a former news organisation, formerly friends of this podcast.
Ran a story saying that it's very likely that the football will continue behind closed doors, but the new broadcasting model will not continue. Now, that is an absolute joke if that happens. If there are Premier League matches behind closed doors that nobody can watch, that is a That is shame on the broadcasters, shame on the football.
No, I'm glad you brought this up. I wonder whether they might not be pressured into changing that a little bit. So they have allowed for all football to be shown as a kind of gift to the broadcasters in their negotiation over what the rebate would be. Basically, right, and this is only for domestic broadcasters because overseas it's very common, apart from the States, basically, to be able to watch every single game. Right, the beIN Sports Network or DAZN, who have it in several countries, show every single game. You can watch what you want, and there's a library of replays and all of that. And the coverage is much better. It's much like Premflix that we've talked about quite a bit in the past, right? So I think a lot of people thought that maybe this is the start. But the Premier League is still sort of bought into this idea that exclusivity and supply restraint keeps the price up in some way, and they want to control their packages. I think it's unnecessary, out of date, and especially in a situation where we won't have full crowds potentially for another 6 months. It seems quite short-sighted. And what it's going to do is drive everyone to illegal streams, obviously. I mean, that happens anyway. So the package that you're buying, if you hadn't suspended your Sky Sports, or if you've got back to Sky Sports or BT or whatever combination you're purchasing it from, many of them are given discounts in order to encourage people to come back. Everyone's just going to suspend their... I mean, if you're getting you can't go to games, and you're not getting a full complement of fixtures during this kind of weird time, and the quality of the product is very different. No crowds, atmosphere is not the same, all of that kind of stuff, and the fake crowds are horrible. I don't know. I think we might see a dip in Sky Sports subscriptions, and we're going into the negotiation for the 21-22 onwards, that 3-year cycle. Might see quite a large dip in the broadcasting, the bidding, especially in the UK. Overseas we'll see because it's more dispersed. But I wonder whether the Premier League as a whole is being a bit short-sighted here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are. I mean, I saw a tweet, I don't know who it was from, that was saying, they're making a big effort to shut down illegal streams. And they said, music industry, the content industry, instead of, they realised they can't shut it down, what you need to do is give people a way to pay for the things that they like about piracy. And
oh my God, we've known this for so long.
Yeah.
One of the earliest projects I worked on coming out of university was a... trying to wonder whether I've still got an NDA here, but was a music service, not streaming, download service. So it's 99 or so from one of the big record labels, who saw that this was the future, saw what was happening with Napster and LimeWire and others, and thought, yeah, we're going to put our catalogue online and sell it. And they had a DRM solution with Microsoft at the time, and they bricked it 11th hour. The website was built, everything was built, and they pulled it right at the last moment because of this worry about people are going to get these and they're going to pirate them and stuff like that, right? And we learned very quickly after that by unbundling the product and offering it in a way that unbundling it as iTunes did, or rebundling it as Netflix does, and offering it in a very convenient, easy way, increases your revenue, right? So the per unit price, sorry, I'm going all tech strategy here, per unit price might fall. So the amount that the Premier League gets per game shown might fall, but the number of games grows and your audience grows because you make it easier. I mean, they've gone down this segmented route, but honestly, I think they'd make 10 times as much money if Premflix happened. And I just think it's the comfort and the guarantee of what you get from the broadcasters that is sucking them into doing this when there's probably a bigger opportunity here.
And we know this is only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time, because you cannot see the entire content industry in all fields of mass media go to a model that's working for them and go, no, we like the old one. It's
especially for rights holders. So in the music industry, what happened is at the back end, the IP holders, the big record labels, and there are really only 4 that control sort of 90% of the world's music catalogue. Their profits dipped as the revenue of the industry halved, but then our profits are growing massively, right? And the retail front end changed. So it once was HMV and Virgin Records and whatever, and now it's Spotify and Tidal and Apple Music.
It's not Tidal, Ed. It's only Tidal for you.
No, I'm not even. I ditched Tidal. There are better HD music services out there. Anyway, yeah, sorry, Jay, my buddy.
He's got 100 problems now.
Yeah, that's right. He's lost his only subscriber. Anyway, so the back end, the IP holders do great out of this. Unbundling, rebundling, digitization process. Their front end Spotify is struggling, right? 75% of their revenues go straight out in licensing. This is what is going to happen to the Premier League, right? They own the rights to this product that everyone around the world wants. They are constraining the demand by restricting the supply. And, anyway, it's a very long conversation. We were supposed to be talking about Palace. But I think it will drive people to streams. And it's really bloody easy. It's super easy. There's no friction here whatsoever to getting an illegal stream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, we've got a game,
the Palace
which
game
will be shown on TV.
So Palace's results have not been good, but I've seen a lot of them since the restart, and they have looked good almost all the time. Like
they've lost 5 games in a row.
Yeah, no, but you look at that and you hadn't watched them play, and you'd think, oh, this will be fine. We'll just roll up and do them. I think I'm sure United won't have that attitude, but they have some. I mean, in Wilf Zaha in particular, they've got some serious threats. I did hear, I don't know who it was, might have been Genus, but I've had a bit of a go at Genus a few times, so I don't want to ascribe this unfairly to anyone, but they were saying like, oh, you'd think that a team with Zaha, Benteke and Andros Townsend would not have problems scoring goals. Like, Andros Townsend has never scored more than about 4 or 5 league goals in a season ever.
And Benteke, when did he last actually score a goal, let alone 4 or 5?
Exactly. I mean, Benteke hasn't been prolific since he got a big injury 5 years ago or something. I mean, it's a really long time. So anyway, they do have problems scoring goals, but they are also a threat. I mean, that game when I think Chelsea beat them 3-2, they were counter-punching Chelsea the whole way through that game. And I think they've got the kind of attack that could potentially challenge the areas of weakness that we have in our side, like pacey wingers, overlapping fullbacks. Like this is not necessarily. I mean, obviously United are very defensively strong on the right hand side, but structurally, I'm not sure we're great against that kind of attack. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe they're not going to press. They're not good at that. It's quite an old side. And I mean, it's one of the oldest average age first 11s in the Premier League. Hodgson went down this route of having sort of experienced players up front. You're right. Zaha, Ayew offer some pace. Van Aanholt on the left hand side offers quite a lot of penetration. So they do. Andros Townsend doesn't. 1 assist all season, but 1 goal, 1 assist.
I'm really sorry, everyone, for how we've guaranteed the Andros Townsend screamer, the one a year happens against us. But listen,
it's just going to swing with his left foot and he's going to go in from 40 yards. Yeah. So look, it's theoretical though. So Zaha, he's so inconsistent, even though he's got more consistent and more effective as he's got older. He looks good. He takes a lot of take-ons, but it's an end product. There's nothing there. He's ranked sort of in the middle of the Premier League for forwards in terms of his actual product. So it's theoretical. All of it is theoretical. But then again, we knew the theory was Southampton. We weren't able to cope with that. I don't think if United move the ball quickly, I don't think Palace will be able to cope with it.
Yeah.
And imposing our game on them is important. Now, the challenge is, can we play the same team again? Chelsea on Sunday in the FA Cup semi-final. That's a really big game, the Cup semi-final, because it's a chance of a trophy.
Yeah, but I think there's no doubt this game would be prioritised over that game by a mile. Like, Romero's going to play in goal in the FA Cup semi-final, and I mean, we might see a much closer to, we will see a much closer to full strength side than we saw in the quarterfinal of the FA Cup, but I don't think it's going to be, I think there'll be 4 changes. I think McTominay will play in that game. I bet you, I don't know this, but my guess is Ollie behind the scenes has been saying to all the players that are not playing, not all of them, but the ones that he cares about that are not playing, look, FA Cup semi-final. I need you ready. Doing the old Fergie trick, because that he is trying to be a tribute act. And that's, I would seriously guess that that's been happening. So I think this will be...
No. I mean, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt.
No.
I was just going to say, Fergie, I'm sorry, but the mask goes over the mouth and the nose, not just the mouth. Doesn't work otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first shot of him, he was doing both. So I was like,
but it was getting in the way of his glasses. It's very hard to wear glasses and a mask.
Yeah. But I think this will be... I think this might just be the same starting 11, assuming we can find a left back, because Luke Shaw, that looked a bit nasty, so actually probably won't be
He's
Luke
definitely
Shaw.
out. And the question is, how bad was that head injury for Brandon Williams? I mean, it's obviously a bad cut. It looked like he's going to need stitches. That's fine. Put a bandage around his head and he'll be okay, as long as he didn't have any concussion symptoms. And then he's definitely out if he has. And then we're on to Dalot at left back. He hasn't been in the squad for the last 8 matches, so no idea if he's actually fit.
Well, he played against Norwich.
He played Norwich in the cup, yeah. So hopefully he's fit, but he's not had many minutes. And beyond that, you've got what? Go to a back 3 or recall Ashley Young?
Yeah, that's where we've got to.
I don't know. Is Ethan Laird training with the squad? He could play there. I mean, he can. He's right-footed, but he can certainly do it. Anyway, I guess, touch wood, Brandon Williams can play because that's the obvious choice there. And then, I mean, I definitely drop Matic. He needs it. He needs it. Scott McTominay. United will have a lot of possession in this game, but it's not as if McTominay's passing is so dire that he wouldn't.
Not at all.
So I think that's a very sensible one. And then the question is, does both Pogba and Fernandes play? Because they both looked a bit leggy.
They did. I mean, Pogba only played an hour, didn't he? And then so he had that. He's got an extra half an hour's rest there. Fernandes played till 75 or something. I mean, I kind of just briefly touched on it. I thought he had an out-and-out stinker in that game. I mean, I don't know whether that's the common consensus or not. I didn't consume any football media at all after that game. It's one of those games where as soon as that 95th minute goes in, I was doing the washing up afterwards, so I was just firing up a podcast and I was looking at what podcasts were ready and just like, nope, delete that one, delete that one. No football media, not interested. Don't want to hear any previews of this game. I don't want to hear any chat about it. Fair play to you if you've listened to this. I could not have listened to this week. But yeah, anyway, I thought Fernandes had a stinker, but I mean, I don't expect that will be the norm. And I think you want them both in the side because of just how vital it is to unlocking a team that will probably sit deep and defend and all those kinds of things. I mean, you might not need them both, because it's not like if you play Fred and Pogba or Fred and Fernandes and you've got Greenwood, Rashford and Martial up front, I wonder whether you rest any of the front 3.
There's an opportunity. I mean, Greenwood didn't have a great game. I don't think he's played so many minutes that he's going to be knackered, but he's young. Dan James is an option, obviously much less of a goal threat. He's really the only option unless Martial drops out and Igalo comes in, which is an option again, but they've tended to want to use him as a impact sub, as a sub. No, he's got a lot of goals. He has got a lot of goals for United, and he's done that job perfectly. But he's not going to change the game for United as a sub.
And mostly, I think he scored goals in games he started. So I think he scored, if I remember correctly, the data. He scored a lot of goals in games that he started in the cup competitions. I wonder whether he might even start in the semi-final. I would be a little surprised, but. I guess it depends.
I'd hate for us to just give that game up.
Yeah.
It's a trophy, it's important.
Yeah. No, I
mean, the Europa League may end up being more important, even though we hate it as a tournament, because United are 3 games away from a qualification from the Champions League. And with a very favourable quarter-final draw, which we haven't talked about. So, probably a spot in the semi-finals. Let's just make that assumption, playing probably Sevilla or Wolves. Both 2 decent, good sides, and we've had trouble against Wolves, but winnable, right? So, and then it's Inter on the other side, who are obviously the strongest team left. And Leverkusen, who are having a mixed bag of a season in the Bundesliga. So anyway, yeah, trophies are important. So Ole will look at the science. He'll look at how fit people are. I hope so. And he'll see what they're looking like in training this week, and then he'll pick the same 11 because that's what he does.
We heard this week that he'd got Patrice Evra to give him Cristiano Ronaldo's phone number. Well, my guess is that he got Patrice Evra to give Cristiano Ronaldo his phone number, because I don't think Ronnie's given his phone number out to anyone. And spoke to him about Bruno ahead of the game. I made a little slight dig in our WhatsApp group saying, "Oh, we've got all the best data. We've got so much data. We do data analysis. Anyone got Ronnie's phone number? I'm just going to ask him." But actually, I think it's genuinely a good thing to do some of the personal stuff. I think that's vital, actually.
Yes. I mean, there was a lot of talk about when... so this conversation happened before United signed Bruno. I think that was the... Yeah. It was always said that Fergie checked on potential signings for their character as well as their football ability. He used his own personal network to do that. So I guess, having a network of alumni out there who can tell you if anyone's good or not is useful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, well, it definitely is. It's about the quality of the recommendation, of course.
And can anyone tell us if Sancho's any good? I've looked at his stats and he looks like he's an absolute worldie. But maybe Marcus can tell us what he's like in training for England.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, Brill. So, I mean, I'm nervous about the Palace game, but I do think. I mean, it's a beautiful test, isn't it? It's a beautiful test. This is really a test of character as well at this point. What is the collective character of this team? And my suspicion is that they've got it in their locker to properly bounce back and to be really professional, and that Solskjaer has lightened the shirt sufficiently that they can express themselves even when they feel like they're under pressure. That's my hunch. I mean, we'll see.
I hope so. I mean, Palace were woeful against Villa. That wasn't the one they were close in. They gave a good account against Chelsea.
Yeah,
and so you're playing a side there's nothing to play for. They're beaten. The manager's on his way out. They're a bit old. They're looking at the beach, all of the 3 days of summer that they'll get off, it's all set up for United, and I think tactically it's pretty good for United as well. So, and you're right, it's the mental side of things. Can they get themselves right after that huge disappointment on Monday. Can't even remember what day we're on. And hopefully, yes. I mean, Bruno is a strong character. Harry Maguire, who we didn't talk about him, had a very bad game. I mean, Ollie from the sidelines going, Harry, fucking sort it out every fucking time. I thought was quite amusing. Yes, don't pass it into midfield when you're getting impressed, Harry. Anyway. So there are strong characters. It's better than it has been in the last few seasons. And hopefully they can turn this around mentally, physically, because it's an absolute must-win. It's must-win. I talked about the high stakes of what it means. For them personally, it's career progression. It's status. It's money. They will lose 25% of their salary if they're not in the Champions League.
Yeah,
or the
absolutely.
other way around, they'll gain an extra 25% if they get back into it. It's everything they wanted in their careers. So I hope there's no lack of motivation or desire here.
I'm sure there won't be. There wasn't any in the Southampton game. There hasn't been any since they've come back from lockdown. There hasn't been any since Burnley. Maybe that one Everton game, but generally speaking, it's Anyway, all right. So I'm predicting a win. I'm frightened, but I recognise that the fear is residual and is the fear is just amygdala hijack essentially. That this is I think we're going to win this game, and I think we might even win it quite comfortably. But I'll go with a 2-0 win.
All right, I'm going to go back to 3-goal margin FC. Okay, comfortable win. Hopefully, touch wood.
Here is hoping.
I'm hoping it's so comfortable you can take off all the tired players after an hour.
Yeah,
or 45 minutes.
That would be, oh my God, being 4-0 up after 45 minutes would be so convenient in this game. So, Patreon backers, stay tuned because we have got an entire world
a week's worth of football, yes.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about some of this. And everyone else, we will see you after the Chelsea game. We'll get the show after the Palace game, before the Chelsea game. We'll get the show out in between the two so we can do a bit of a preview of the FA Cup semi-final and give that the kind of build-up it deserves for Romero and Dalot and Ighalo to start. All right, see you soon or stay tuned.
Question with that.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.